like my mind was all over the place. And then in the end, I was like, I am not leaving. And I was like, I'm not leaving. Okay, I'm trying to be cool about it now and be like, I was like, I'm not leaving. But no, really, I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm not, my hands were shaking. Hey guys, welcome back to Lawtorials. My name is Elelion, head bar exam coach here at Lawtorials, and today I'm coming at you with a quick story time with a lesson at the end. Of course, this would not be Lawtorials without a lesson, so we'll get straight into that in a moment. But if you of course want to learn the law and get ready for the real nitty-gritty stuff for the bar exam, of course you can click the link in my bio or the link in this description box, which is what I meant to say, and you can book a call with me so I can talk to you about how I can help you pass the bar exam with my one-to-one bar prep coaching journey to attorney. So there's always that option. And of course, actually, I have a new video out on contracts. It's a great place to start, and a lot of you have been asking. Two people asked me to do a video on contracts after I explained it to them. So that's up, and there'll be a lot more videos coming up teaching you the actual law that you need to know to pass the bar exam and fast forward your journey to becoming an attorney. So with all that being said, we are going to get straight into the video and the story about the time when the fire alarm went off during my bar exam. Now, I think the way I reacted is what really makes this story, but just a little kind of, if we just like rewind a little bit, in my past sittings of this bar exam, okay, this blessed bar exam, almost every single time, almost, if not every single time, I had previously prayed for the fire alarm to go off, like full on with the sprinklers, everything. I was prepared to get my hair wet, whatever. You know, when it's like, okay, well, like, this is it. I've got this 2-day exam. It's been a lot in the last few months preparing for the exam. So at the very least, if it's not going my way, then I was like, God, please just let this fire alarm come. Okay. Every single time, if not, yeah, pretty much every single time. And of course it never happened. So I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. Like, I'm being a bit selfish, because what if there was someone who was like banging out all the questions and this was their time to pass? So I was like, okay, whatever. And I just put that thought way at the back of my mind. Okay. So the last exam that, was administered in July 2021 was actually done remotely because of the pandemic and us foreign trained lawyers not being allowed to travel over there or sit it in person. In fact, nobody did it in person in that sitting. So the way it works was you had to have like the place that you were going to be, have everything set out. And I was very, 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 like, I did a lot of due diligence when it came to picking a hotel and where I was going to be for the exam. And sorry, basically, okay, so let me just get to the... Okay, so I'll fast forward a bit. So I did my due diligence, okay, and I called the hotel in advance. I'm like, listen, I'm doing a 2-day exam. Are your rooms soundproof? I need somewhere that's completely quiet, isolated, da-di-da. And they were like, yeah, like, we're right by the airport, so we're required to have our rooms being completely soundproof. And she talked about the decibels and all of that stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sounds good. So I did my research and I went with that one hotel, and it came to the day and I spoke to a couple of the managers. I feel like I spoke to headquarters. Like, I was always just there, like, double checking and verifying that there were no events going on, like all of that stuff. Like, do you have a lot of group bookings? Because I was like, nothing is going to mess this up for me. Because in that time, the last bar exam I did, I studied myself, like completely myself. Like, I started from scratch and just did everything. Like, I came up with my own methodology, which is why I now have my program, Journey to Attorney. Sorry. Anyway, which is why I now have my program, because I literally have been through the ropes, okay? And so when I got there, I did it again. I verified before I checked in. I was like, still no group bookings. It's still quite quiet. And they were like, yeah, you're all good. He was like, that's amazing. 2 days exam, like the law, like so inspiring, young black woman. That was one of the managers I was speaking to. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to put you. He saw the notes. He put me in the most isolated room they had, which turned out to be like a really big, nice corner suite, which is not what I paid for, but hey ho. That's what I got. And so it was great. Everything was fine. I was there the night before, and I did like I set up like I brought a monitor, a bigger monitor than my laptop because you're allowed. I had my external webcam, my external mic, because in these exams, now this is why this is why I wish I could get the footage, but in these exams, because they were remote, they were using artificial intelligence to monitor like the bar exam takers. So your camera had to be a specific kind of quality, your mic had to be pick up a specific amount of sound, like it had to be, and it like tracks your eyes. And that's where I was a bit worried, because I'm like, this is a remote bar exam. Like when I talk, I think, or when I think, I look, when I look, sorry, when I think, like my eyes can like dart around, or I'd be like, or I'd be like, like, you know, it's just natural. But then this artificial intelligence apparently watches your eyes to see any irregular eye movements, any irregular sounds. Like, it's very high tech. So I was like, whew, okay. So I used to practice like trying to like be very still, but it's just weird. It's just like, okay, it is what it is. So anyway, I get to my room and I like video the room to like show the board. You didn't have to do that, but I was like, ain't nothing gonna get in my way of passing. Not one kind of like rule break, nothing. I'm gonna make sure they see everything. I even wanted to record myself doing the exam, but I realized that could be a potential violation because your phone shouldn't have been on. So I didn't. But I did get some footage before or in between. In fact, this footage was from right before it happened, and you can see I was in such good spirits, and I'll show you in a minute. But basically what happened was, after it got to the day, so everything's fine, I've checked, I went down, made sure there weren't too many people on my floor and all that. I put my sign outside the door, bar exam in progress. And so yeah, so I'm doing the exam. This is like the second day of the exam. It's a 2-day exam, and it's the final quarter, like the last part. So it was like the last 50 questions, or yeah, I think that's what it was. Anyway, so I'm there doing the exam. It was literally the second question of that session. There was 200 questions, but for that session, it was the second question. And all of a sudden, all you hear is the alarm go off, and it wasn't just the regular alarm. It wasn't the fire alarm that is like, look like it's not the one that was like a trill. Do you know what I mean? It was like a man's voice, and it was, I don't think he was saying emergency, but he was saying it was something, and then it was please evacuate the building. Now this is while the exam, so you've got the time. Once the time starts, there's no stopping. You can't pause, you can't leave, you can't go to the toilet. If you do, you have to announce it. And I was like, what? And my heart stopped. I really wish I could get the footage of me during that exam. I'm sure whoever watched it back had a great laugh. But listen, okay? Sorry. Listen, what happened? The alarm starts going off, and it's so funny to me because sorry. Okay, Elio, you have to be professional. Okay, so what happened was, when the alarm starts going off and this guy is like saying evacuate the building, I'm like, okay, I have two options, right? I was like, this is a fire alarm. And I was like, wait, I always planned what I was going to do in this thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, look so upset. Like, no, oh my gosh, it's a fire alarm. I have to leave. But then obviously reality kicked in. This is not in person. This is not with thousands of people around me and we all have the same fire alarm. This is me. I'm the only one who's going through this fire alarm. So I was like, if I leave, I'm not going to get that time back. I'm literally not going to get that time back. And that's it. It's game over. And everything that I had studied for, the months, okay, and to me it wasn't months, it was years. Because I started this journey in 2017 for this particular New York jurisdictional exam. And I was like, So this is what happened. So I was just like, I froze. my heart beated, and I was like, my heart beat. And I was just like, I'm not going. I am not going anywhere. Okay, it wasn't really like that. It was more like, I'm not going. I'm not. So I literally, like, my eyes filled up with tears. And I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, there's a fire alarm. So I'm like talking to the thing, because I'm like, now I have this violation because they're hearing the sound. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I was just like, oh my God, why? Sorry. I was literally like, God, why me? And I was like, I cannot do this. So then I start to think, any second now, they're going to evacuate the building. He was like, leave the building, evacuate, all of that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I think the first thing I did, and it's all a bit of a blur, but it's so funny to me. The first thing I did was I ran to the door and I got the sign that said examination in progress. Because at that point, I was like, I am not leaving until somebody comes for me. And even at that point, I had decided, not only am I not leaving, I'm going to hide. That was my plan. So I was like, okay, I was trying to focus on the questions, but I'm trying to formulate my plan. If somebody, because I was on the 7th floor. Yes, I was on the 7th floor, which was the highest for that hotel. It wasn't that big. And I was like, no, I am not leaving. So then I did this little thing. I got the paper and I showed the camera. That I announced to the artificial intelligence, I am going to resume the exam. No, okay, before that, there was a lot of like panic and like, I was like, do you know what? I was like, God, this is not happening to me, because I spent too much time. But I tell you, for that whole section, I do not even remember like what I answered. And I'll show you this clip now so you can understand. Okay, so this was like the break right before this section. So this is why I'm all happy-go-lucky. This was when I used to have a YouTube channel, which was like me recording videos to my YouTube channel and never posting it. So that's who I was talking to. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. sorry. As you know, I don't have a YouTube channel. I mean, technically I do, but it's like I watch videos, I don't make videos. So today is the final day of my bar exam. So just doing a little blog, examination in process, please do not disturb. Although they were really nice, they managed to give me like a secluded room, like away from everybody else. Okay guys, I am at the final stretch. The last session starts in officially 7 minutes. I'm so excited, like I'm so pumped. Like I was like falling asleep, like just now, but when I just realized, I'm like, hold on, like this is the last set of questions. I'm like, never mind. But I am so excited. Like, can you tell that I'm pumped? Can you tell that I'm pumped? Like I'm literally about to finish and pass the New York Bar 2021. Okay, anyway, let me just pause it there. But as you can see, these curtains right here here it's on my right, these were the curtains. And so while I was carrying on with the exam, my plan was to hide behind those curtains. But as you can see, there were 2 problems with that. No, maybe 3, but let me tell you about 2. The 2 problems were, I think it was broken, so there was like a missing panel. That's what it was. So then there was that, okay? And then there was the problem with me. And I was like, but in that time I was not thinking. I was like, if somebody came, because I was like, when it comes to this, I know they go from floor to floor checking that everyone evacuates the building. And I was like, I am not evacuating this building. So I was like, okay, if somebody comes, so I'd already taken off. The reason I took the sign off the door was because if I had that sign up still, they would know and remember that I was in there taking the exam, and they would use forced entry. So I had to take the latch off as well, because I had that on as well. And I was like, when they come in, I'm going to hide. But I was like, where am I going to hide? The bed wasn't a bed that you can like slide under. The curtain was half translucent and didn't fit the whole thing. Plus, even if I did that, like it would have been like ripple, and then like, you know, like a big bulge. But anyway, then I was like, okay, maybe the bathroom, the bathtub, but they check these places. And so I'm like, I cannot keep wasting time. So in that time so all of this had happened, I announced to the camera that I'm going to continue on with the exam. But in my mind, I'm like, where am I going to hide? And I don't remember if I tried to. I just wish I could get that footage back, but I can't, so that's fine. But anyway, I carried on with the exam. I was like, listen, like, I just calmed down. I told God, like, I did not come this far to give up. And yes, I was willing to risk my life to pass this exam. And was it the best thing? Probably not, but I did it anyway. If I was to go back into that same scenario with the fire alarm coming on and all of that stuff, would I have stayed? Probably would have stayed. Honestly, I'm not lying to you, because I passed. At the end of the day, like, even with me messing up that whole section of questions, because my brain, it literally went to mush, because I was too busy trying to calculate, do I hide behind the bed? Do I pretend I'm like the cleanup? So many things went through my mind, but all I knew was I was not leaving that hotel room. So then I was able to carry on with the exam, but then I was still like, I was frazzled. I was very bamboozled. I was very like discombobulated. It was anyway. So in the end, the next day, I finished the exam. I was like, bro, this could really like affect my score, because up until that point, as you can see in the little clip I just showed you, I was on it. I was so happy. And the way I had taught myself to pass this exam, I was like over the moon. So in the end, I did just have to write to them. It was fine. Like, I sent them a fax and I explained what happened. I'm sure they would have been looking at me in that footage like, is this girl crazy? Like, is she actually crazy? And I feel like at the time, I genuinely feel like I was. And I'm not saying that you should do that in that situation, of course not, but it worked for me. I'm joking. But anyway, the next morning I went down and I was like, hey, so about that fire alarm, what was going on? Because I didn't want them to know that I was in the room refusing to leave. So I just went down, like, about that fire alarm, like, what was I heard about the fire alarm? And then he was like, oh yeah, it was a drill. And I was like, it was a drill. I was like, was it a planned drill? And he was like, oh yeah, we do it every Wednesday at X o'clock. And I was like, oh, but like, I told you that I had the 2-day exam. I asked if there would be any disturbances, if there's any reason why the exam would be disrupted. We've been speaking for about 3 months now. And he was like, oh, it happened during your exam. I was like, yeah. And then he was like, oh yeah, it was a drill. And I was like, yeah. Anyway, I figured, because then obviously I didn't want it to be obvious that I stayed in the room, when if it was a real thing, then yeah, that would have been very silly. Obviously I thought it was real, so again, but hey ho, I did it. I still passed, and that's because of the amount of, I feel like it was everything else that I did in that exam that carried me through, because honestly that last part, all I remember in that last section was me thinking, how am I going to fit behind the curtains? Damn, I should have done more hit. That's all I remember. So there are many lessons that can come from this, but I guess my main one, especially for those of you who may be having to sit an exam still remotely, things keep changing. Right now, most exams are back in person, whereas some are remote. But if you do ever find yourself doing an online bar exam, the remote version of the bar exam, I should say, make sure, if you're booking a hotel, apart from checking the sound and the decibels and all of that stuff and the events going on, ask them about their routine fire drills, because you can ask everything and they may not still tell you, but definitely ask them about any planned fire drills, any planned tests, anything that will disrupt your bar exam if you find yourself in that situation. Or better yet, maybe find an apartment. I think that's a bit more controllable, especially if it's like a service department, entire apartment to self, and you pick that thing on Airbnb. So yeah, I guess that's the end. I made it through. I made it okay. I passed the bar. I became an attorney. Life is good and God is good. So just remember that, to do extra due diligence, and these are the specific things that you should be asking for. And again, if you haven't already seen the new contracts video, because you need to be learning the law for the bar exam, you can check that out, and you can click the link in my description box below to book a call with me and see how I can help you on your journey to passing the exam. I don't know why my voice went really high like that, but I'm going to end it here. So see you next time.